Hey everyone, Steve here from My Crypto World. Well, THETA have finally launched their white paper for the THETA Mainnet 4.0. Let's take a look at what it's all about. Okay, before we talk about the THETA Mainnet 4.0 white paper that's just come out, let's have a look at the market as we always do, just to see where things are at. In our last video, actually two videos before that, before this current one, we spoke about where the market was headed, where it was in its cycle, and we spoke that the fact that while it had come up quite sharply and nearly got back to the high of 2.2 trillion, that there was a strong possibility that it may come back down and test its recent low, being at the $1.75 trillion mark, which is exactly what it did around about 4 or 5 days ago. It's then sprung up from there, and again today, as you can see, it's come back down to at the moment at $1.777 trillion mark, so just above the $1.75 trillion mark. I'm not overly concerned about this. This is, as I said, part and parcel of trading the market, and it's part of the cyclical nature of the cycles within the market. So this seems to be quite a very strong support band here for the market, so we'll just hopefully see that move up from there, moving out of this range now. Now, of course, it can go the other way. We might see it drop back down to the $1.484 trillion mark, or worse, at $1.136 trillion mark if it fails those two support lines, but time will tell where it goes. If it does come down though, at either to the blue support line or the purple one here, if we scroll back a bit, then pretty much what we can say, we've almost been in a sideways pattern for the last, say, 2 years, roughly. Not quite 2 years, probably 12 months. And the things with sideways patterns are you don't know you're in a sideways pattern sometimes until hindsight kicks in, and you can go back and have a look at the history and you can see how much it's moved up and down. Really what it's doing is it's bouncing a lot between channels, but the bounces are getting tighter and tighter. So I do suspect this sideways movement to come to a halt at some stage. We just never know when. So today's video is more about the THETA Mainnet 4.0 paper that came out in April, so this month, and it discusses the intelligence behind it, but it also discusses the use case behind it. So I'll have a link in the description below if you want to download the white paper yourself and have a good read through, and anyone who is an investor in THETA, I strongly suggest you do it. It doesn't matter too much that you might not understand all of it. I certainly don't understand all of it, but it does give you a good headspace to operate in, and it gives you a good sound of information so that you can get your head around the fact that where THETA may be, not right now, but where it might be in a year or two's time based on what they're planning to do. So let's go through part of this at the moment, and well, I'm not going to read the whole article. I've highlighted certain parts of the article to talk through. We'll just get rid of myself up there so I can read this better. Okay, so let's start off. Web3 tools and technologies today are like the internet back in the early 2000s. So remember the early 2000s when the internet sort of was born. You know, we had 56k modems. We thought it was fantastic, but it was nothing like what it would be, or we could not have envisaged what it would be like today. So Web3 really is in its infancy. So for people, and if you're one of them that are worried about your investment in THETA or any of the other blockchain networks, remember we are still so early in this space. This is groundbreaking technology, and they're not going to fix all these issues that they want to overnight. But from a long-term perspective, THETA is going to become highly valuable. So they will enable a new category of media, entertainment and metaverse businesses to emerge, built on the new set of business economics and models that are community first, decentralized and controlled by creators, IP holders, which is really important, and the users themselves, not the platform. Whereas the existing Web 2 businesses, which is what we've got now, capture 80% of the value created by their platforms in the form of corporate profits, leaving only 10% to creators and IP holders and 10% to users. New Web3 businesses can then thrive and scale 10 times and keep 20% of the value created to themselves. in the end they're still 200% more successful and have the potential to completely displace today's Web 2 businesses. So basically what it's doing here is just giving us a user case of why Web 3 is so important and how it's really going to change the way the economics of the web is going to be driven. So really driven by the users and the IP creators, not so much the corporates. But in saying that, that's not having a dig at the corporates either, because THETA is there for them as well, and it'll go. The article will go on to discover a bit more about that as well. THETA Mainnet 4.0, along with the THETA Meta Chain SDK, is estimated to launch on the testnet on October the 1st, 2022, with a target of general release on December 1, 2022. Now, bearing in mind as well, when THETA launched the Mainnet 3.0, there was a delay in that. They delayed it, I think, from memory, for about 3 months. I don't remember the exact date. So these dates aren't locked in stone. If THETA feel that they are unable to release, or they think that more testing needs to be done before release, they will certainly do it. These are just general guidelines only. So below are some media and entertainment business segments that are ripe for distribution. So let's go through these, and you'll find here there are 6 main or core reasons why THETA Mainnet 4.0 is going to kick ass, really. So the first one is video content platforms, and they've broken that down into 3 categories. The first one being under video content platforms, subscription-based streaming services. So Netflix, Disney, Hulu are beginning to stagnate now with lower growth and increased churn rate. Saturation and alternatives have driven consumers to rethink charging $20 a month on their credit cards. A Web3 equivalent would leverage THETA's video-focused edge computing infrastructure and the THETA Video API to lower the massive costs of video encoding, storage and delivery to multiple devices, including mobile, web, smart TVs, set-top boxes and more. Users are rewarded for watching and sharing their video with others on the network, in the network, participating in THETA's peer-to-peer network program. So if you happen to be running an Elite Edge node on your computer, which I am, you can probably in this video hear my fans burning at the moment. It's because it's doing a lot of encoding on the THETA network at the moment. I keep forgetting to turn my fans off every time I start one of these videos, but never mind, sorry about the background noise. The third part to the video content platforms is the free ad supported services, video services. So YouTube, Twitch, Tubi, Pluto TV are becoming more popular and beginning to cannibalize subscription services as they drive more value to end users. However, they are also struggling with lower user engagement, retention, and the ease to switch to competing services. New Web3 equivalents can vastly decrease the cost to encode, store, and distribute video through THETA's decentralized peer-to-peer model. So again, they're here for the YouTubes. This is not certainly a slag on anyone who's got who's using or any of the providers out there at the moment that have built content delivery systems like YouTube. At the time, we didn't know any better, and they've built what they've built, and we're all in a better place for it. I think the platform's fantastic. But what they're saying is that at some point in time, YouTube are going to have to look to something else to distribute and disperse the video content, and THETA can do that through their Edge node network. Transactional pay-per-view models, Amazon Prime and other services are becoming more important given the new post-COVID world where some blockbuster movies openings, for example, are shifting to online only or theatre and online simultaneous launch. Web3 businesses models present a whole set of opportunities where transactional customers can be converted to a lifetime of customers and of the IP and of the brand. So that's just section 1. That's just video content platforms. As I said, there are 6 reasons why this will work, or 6 use cases, I should say. The second one, ticketing and live event platforms. Now, we've spoken about this in another video, but I'll just cover this briefly. Ticketmaster, Live Nations, and Eventbrite today are fought with the illegitimate secondary market sales, fraud and bot networks that purchase up to 60% of tickets from primary sales, leaving the end consumer paying many times the original ticket price. These businesses and their associated supply chains are ripe for distribution, starting with replacing physical and digital tickets with THETA's NFTs and THETA Pass that can be traced, tracked, and transparently managed. Original IP holders can now be compensated for a portion of each secondary ticket sold, all tracked and seamlessly implemented via smart contracts on the THETA blockchain, and fraudulent middlemen are cut out. So that's really powerful. Movie studios and production houses like Universal Pictures, Warner Brothers, Paramount and Lionsgate are quite traditional with little business change in the last few decades. But emerging studios and indie filmmakers have experimented with innovative funding, production and post-production marketing models. However, Web3 initiatives could unlock a whole new value chain where the original IP, intellectual property, and creators can reap much greater rewards than the traditional 10 to 15%. Starting with seed funding, fractional ownership, THETA TNT 20 tokens can be sold at early stages of a project to raise funds for production. So that's really good if you're in the film business and you're wanting to actually make movies. Pretty intelligent logic there. Local sports teams, again, we've spoken about sports teams in other videos, so if you haven't seen all of that, go back and have a look at some of the other ones, content I've created. But here we go, NBL, NBA, NFL, NHL, I mean the list just goes on, it's just not those categories at all, have traditionally relied on two main sources of revenues, which is the ticket sales and the broadcast rights. They've also got some other revenue streams, which would be merchandise and things like that. A next-gen Web3 business model for sports teams could incorporate team fan tokens, where holders of these THETA Network 20 tokens can participate in the governance and vote on various stadium and team business decisions, including stadium improvements, logos, jerseys, tickets, pricings, sponsorships and more. So this is actually giving the fans a voice about their particular club or a particular league that they follow. Whether it be NBA or MLB or whatever it might be, AFL in Australia, cricket, it actually gives us a voice to say where we want to see some changes or improvements made with the game. So that's pretty big. I don't know how quickly that one will take off. I'm sure there are a few people in control of those large organisations that may not like that. But again, it's a step-by-step process, one thing at a time. Number 5, content and website hosting services. So Amazon, Google, GoDaddy, Squarespace are mostly centralized platforms with content caching services located at various major metropolitan geographic locations. A Web3 distributed content hosting service could be 3 to 5 times more cost effective by leveraging THETA's global edge network and edge store capabilities. And number 6, emerging metaverse platforms such as Decentraland, Sandbox, Roblox, are already embracing Web3 and distributed ledger technologies. These virtual spaces open up a whole world of opportunities to transform today's approach to online interaction, communication and collaboration. Most of these platforms could support open Web3 toolsets to enable anyone in the community to build and expand the virtual worlds, including THETA's video and media API interfaces. The future of metaverse platforms will be largely driven by social interactions powered by video, audio, and other rich media formats. So there's the 6 use cases for THETA's Mainnet 4.0. We've got video content platforms, we have ticketing and live event platforms, movie studio and production houses, local sports teams, and sports, I would say not just sports teams, but also sports categories as well. So you're not just talking about the NBA, you are talking about the entire NBA, you're talking about hockey, you're talking about cricket, you're talking about Australian rules, it could be anything, any league in a sense. And number 5 was content and website hosting services, and number 6 was the emerging metaverse platforms, which I've also spoken a little bit about on this website. So now that was the use cases. Web3 business models drive new economics. I'm not going to read through all of this because it actually is quite lengthy, but essentially there are also 6 business models that they're basing this on. Number 1 is the decentralized governance and key decision making. Number 2 is incentive model for end users. Number 3 is transparent, immediate and value to IP holders and influencers. Remember, IP is intellectual property holders, so whoever come up with the content or idea. Decentralized infrastructure to power media, video and content delivery. Number 5, distributed technology that enables 10 times scaling, and we've spoken about that just briefly. And number 6, permissionless extendable platform to developers and communities. So it looks like THETA's Mainnet 4.0, when it does launch, is going to provide a host of amazing activity on the THETA blockchain that will slowly develop over time into something bigger that we can probably never imagine. You know, I've said it in other videos, THETA is almost like Google before Google became Google. They have really thought very carefully about what they want to develop. They've seen the limitations of the current Web 2 design, and they're really going over and beyond to try and develop this into something that is going to be around for a lifetime. And they're also putting the power back into the hands of the people, which is a small flaw in today's environment. Now, what I'll do is I'll just talk to you briefly. They've got a graphic here which tries to explain how things work on the THETA network. So we just go down the bottom here, you've got content creators, app stores, and entertainment platforms. They upload stuff to the THETA Edge network. You've also got live streaming and live streaming platforms. So, for example, I'm not a live streamer. I think I've done one live stream in my life. Most of the time I'm a content creator. So this video that you're watching now has been uploaded to YouTube, which is probably most people are seeing it. It's also been uploaded up to THETA TV through the Edge node network. And whether you're a live streamer or a video content creator, if you upload onto the Edge node network, that's pretty much what happens. You go up to the Edge node network, it goes up to the THETA meta chain, and that video content is then streamed via the Edge node network back down to anyone who might be viewing or watching this video at the moment. And it does that through a small filter called the THETA Video API. Before you go up to an Edge node, you've actually got to go through the THETA Video API. Now, THETA have given us this example of what the Edge node looks like, and I've spoken about the Edge nodes before. I can't remember how many there are in the world. As I said, I'm running one. There's got to be around about 160,000 Edge nodes globally. But an Edge node doesn't actually, the way they've broken this picture down, it looks like the Edge nodes either store infrastructure, or they do encoding, or they do delivery. The truth is the THETA Edge network does all three. So my one that's running at the moment does all three of those simultaneously. I think that what they've done is they've broken it down for just so you can see the different modalities that THETA Edge node actually does. It doesn't mean it does one or the other, or it only does one at a time and not the other things. It actually does all three things. So they've broken it down for simplicity to show you the core things that the Edge network does, Edge node does, sorry. So that's the way the THETA meta chain and the THETAverse works. It is video content creators like myself uploading it through THETA's video API, getting that onto the Edge nodes that are run globally, up to the THETA meta chain, and then back out to the THETA Edge nodes again for users like yourself who are watching this content to be able to do so, freely and hopefully with very little trouble or video downtime. Now the rest of this is quite intense, so it talks about the architecture. We're not going to go through any of that at all. That's pretty full-on work, and I don't understand all of it. It talks about main chain, peer-to-peer network, RPCs, things like that. It does go on to talk about creating a new subchain. So essentially, you've got the THETA meta chain, which is the major chain, and it's the global chain. Then you've got the meta chain, which is designed to be permissionless. So this means anyone can launch a subchain. There's no approval required from THETA Labs, as it writes here. And at a high level, creating a new subchain involves the following steps. So while anyone can go out and create a subchain of their own on the THETA network, there will be a requirement to fulfill certain needs that THETA need. The main one being you've got to deposit THETA collateral. So if you want to go and open up a subchain, you have to deposit some type of THETA. Doesn't talk about the amounts yet, but you do have to deposit a certain amount of THETA onto your subchain as well as collateral for doing that. You've also got to do a subchain validator staking. You've got to launch the subchain validators. You've got a subchain validator and unstaking should you want to get out of it. Interchain messaging channels, it just speaks about this briefly. They have designed the interchain messaging channel protocol to facilitate crypto asset transfers between the main chain and the subchains. That's probably a no-brainer. Of course I would have to do that. And I don't know if there was anything else I highlighted in this that I wanted to cover off today. Wasn't anything. No, not the edge store, don't worry about that. Security analysis, I'm not going to cover that off. I was going to, but I won't. It does also at the bottom of the, as we come into the end of the white paper here, it does compare Theta with other chains. It gives you a good understanding of the differences, but the best part is this one here, which is on page 19. It lists Theta, Metachain, Cosmos, Polkadot, and Avalanche. And if you've got the article, again, yourself, you can just go through and see what the differences are. Now, this article isn't having a dig at Cosmos, and I'm certainly not. I'm a holder of Cosmos, I'm a holder of Polkadot. I still believe those projects are valid. It's just comparing Theta to those as well. So you can see what the pros and cons are there. Architecture overview, which we've already covered off. Don't know why they've got that on there twice, actually. Doesn't matter. They've probably gone into a lot more detail under this. That's why I've highlighted this in this section. I probably had other things to read and I forgot about it, but it doesn't matter. I've kind of covered it off anyway. So look, I think I'll leave it there, but that's really what the THETA Mainnet 4.0 is looking to do. It really is about, as I said, designing a platform that's going to be so relatable for anybody, for pretty much all the stakeholders, whether you're a user, whether you're a watcher, whether you're a streamer, whether you're putting up IP, it doesn't really matter. Whether you're going to advertise on the network, everyone in some point in time is going to get to be benefited from working with Web3 developers and Web3 blockchain networks. So again, this is what Theta is doing. This is why I'm a big holder of it. Again, this is not financial advice. It's just my financial opinion only. That when you go and have a look at Theta on the... let's go and have a look at the Theta chain, the current pricing. At $2.90, I just cannot believe Theta is still this low in price. And pretty much has been moving sideways for nearly a year now. So... you know, we got up there to nearly $17, $16.60 at one point. I think even $16.60 is incredibly low price for this amazing network. So I'm certainly dollar cost averaging in and getting as much as I can whenever I've got some spare cash. Again, it's not financial opinion, it's just what I do, and you should do your own research. But this project is going to go gangbusters. Whether it's in the next 6 months or in the next 6 years, it doesn't really matter. Well, certainly from my point it doesn't, because I'm more of a long-term trader and investor. I'm not somebody who jumps in and out of markets, as you would know from my other previous videos. That's it for today's video. Take care of yourself and each other. Any questions, drop them in the comment section below and I will try and get back to you. Until then, we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.